Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. This is the last part of my lecture video on protein. Here I shall discuss about the metabolism of amino acid in our cell. In my previous lecture video, I already discussed about the digestion of protein in brief. And we know that the digestive end product of proteins are amino acids. And these amino acids are absorbed through intestinal wall and enter into our blood. And through blood circulation, amino acids are distributed throughout the body and enters into our cell. After entering into our cell, some amino acids are utilized for the formation of human protein, and the other amino acids are break down to produce energy in our body. Before discussing the metabolism of amino acid, I want to discuss about other two types of food usually we take for energy production, that is carbohydrate and lipid. Usually we depends on these three type of food, that is protein, carbohydrate and lipid, for energy production for our biochemical activity in our body or system. First I want to discuss about the carbohydrate. Why I am discussing about carbohydrate and lipid along with protein? Because the metabolism of these three classes of compounds are interrelated. Okay, the first I want to discuss about carbohydrate. We know that carbohydrate are one kind of polysaccharide polymer, but we also take disaccharide, trisaccharide, tetrasaccharide, that type of carbohydrates also. Anyway, what type of carbohydrate we take, but after digestion, the digestive end product of all type of carbohydrates are three monomer, that is three monosaccharides. All carbohydrates are composed of these three types of monosaccharide, that is glucose, fructose and galactose. And uh, within these three monosaccharide, the carbohydrate what we usually eat are composed. The glucose, fructose and galactose are the structural isomer of each other. Their molecular formula is same, that is C6H12O6, but their structural formula is different, and all of you already learned the structure of glucose, fructose and galactose in your previous subjects. Anyway, when glucose, fructose and galactose tries to absorb in our systemic circulation, that is when they tries to enter uh, into the blood through the intestinal wall. In intestinal wall there is a isomer which name is isomerase. Isomerase convert fructose and galactose to its structural isomer glucose. That means when carbohydrate enters in our blood, it comes in our blood in the form of glucose only. And in our cell, in the cytoplasm, glucose after glycolysis, it converted into pyruvic acid, and after that pyruvic acid it converts into acetyl CoA. When it enters into acetyl CoA, then when it uh, convert into acetyl OA, it can enter in the mitochondria, and in the mitochondria a series of reaction occurs. We can see in this chart, that is the Krebs cycle or citric acid cycle, and sometimes it is known as TCA cycle. After completion of the citric acid cycle in mitochondria, acetyl CoA, after 8-step reaction, it's converted to carbon dioxide and water. But in every step, some portion of the compounds are eliminated as energy. So after complete breakdown of glucose in our system, it produces energy, and we get energy, and end product is carbon dioxide and water. So if one molecule of glucose break down through this pathway, will get 38 molecule of ATP. 2 molecules we will get during glycolysis, and remaining 36 molecule of ATP we will get from citric acid cycle. Now come to the lipid, and we know that lipids are the ester of glycerol and fatty acids. Actually it is known as a triester. And after digestion of lipid, the digestive end product is glycerol and fatty acids, and these glycerol and fatty acids absorb through the intestinal wall into our systemic circulation, and ultimately they enter into the cell. After several step reaction, glycerol converted into pyruvic acid, and when it converts into pyruvic acid, in turn by another reaction it converts into acetyl CoA, and after that it enters into mitochondria and complete this citric acid cycle. That is, it also converted to carbon dioxide and water, and in every step it some portion of the compounds are released as energy. Okay, that means the breakdown of glycerol and glucose is, we can see they are also interrelated. Now come to the fatty acid. After absorption of the fatty acid, they also enter into our cell, and in our cell, fatty acid by different pathway ultimately they converts into acetyl CoA. After converting into acetyl CoA, this acetyl CoA can enter in mitochondria, and after entering mitochondria, they produce energy after completing the 8th step of the reaction in citric acid cycle. That means fatty acids are also metabolized to produce energy. So we can see from the flow chart that both carbohydrates and lipids breakdowns are interrelated. That is, their metabolism is following the citric acid cycle pathway, or we can say Krebs cycle pathway. Now come to the protein, which is our target product. Okay, so we already know that after digestion, proteins are converted to amino acids. That is, the digestive end product of proteins are amino acid, and when they enter into the cell, when they metabolize to produce energy, because every amino acid has different structure. Actually, not different whole structure. The side chain of amino acids are differ from each other. So after entering into the cell, all amino acid go through two step of reaction. So after completing two step of reaction, some amino acid converted to pyruvic acid, some amino acid converted to acetyl CoA, and some amino acid converted to the some product in different step of citric acid cycle. For example, like alpha ketoglutarate, oxaloacetate. So, for example, one amino acid converted to pyruvic acid. That means after pyruvic acid formation, it will convert it to acetyl CoA. After acetyl CoA formation, it will enter into mitochondria and complete the citric acid cycle and produce energy. Similarly, those amino acid will convert it to acetyl CoA. They will also enter into the mitochondria and complete the citric acid cycle. Even those amino acids are converted to the some product in some step of the citric acid cycle. For example, if amino acid converted to alpha ketoglutarate, it will convert the remaining step of the citric acid cycle, and after completing the remaining step in citric acid cycle, it will also produce energy. And the end product of the common two-step reaction of amino acid in cell is the ammonium ion. This is the metabolic end product of amino acid. So this is the overall metabolism of amino acid in our cell. In the next slide, we will discuss about the metabolism of amino acid, or you can say degradation of amino acid in brief. Now in detail I shall discuss about the metabolism or degradation of amino acid. Actually, the degradation of amino acids occur in liver cell mainly, but In the cell of kidney and adrenal cortex, some amino acids also degrade. So during degradation in cell, all amino acid have to complete two steps of common reaction. First step of this two step is transamination reaction. So during transamination reaction, what happen? In this step, every amino acid in our cell react with an alpha keto acid, and after reaction they produce a new amino acid and a new alpha keto acid. Okay, the first come to the point, what is alpha keto acid? Alpha keto acid, one kind of carboxylic acid whose alpha carbon contain a ketone group. So if we discuss transamination with an example, I think it will be easy to understand. So we consider the amino acid, that is alanine. When alanine react with an alpha keto acid in transamination step, particularly alanine react with alpha keto glutarate or alpha keto glutaric acid. It is an alpha keto acid because its alpha carbon contain an ketone group. So you can say from where we can get alpha keto glutarate or alpha keto glutaric acid. We already saw in our previous slide that alpha keto glutarate is a product in third or fourth step, I think third step in citric acid cycle. So we can get this alpha keto acid from carbohydrate and lipid also. Anyway, this alanine amino acid, after reacting with this alpha keto acid, it produce a new alpha keto acid and a new amino acid. Interestingly, the new alpha keto acid is correspond to the reacting amino acid, because you see the carbon skeleton of these two compounds is same except the functional group here. That's why the newly produced alpha keto acid is corresponding to the reacting amino acid, and the new formed amino acid is correspond to the reacting alpha keto acid, because you can see the carbon skeleton in both compound is same, only the functional group here. So after completing the transamination reaction for every amino acid, after reacting with an alpha keto acid, they produce a new alpha keto acid, a new amino acid. So after getting these two products, the newly formed alpha keto acid will complete the citric acid cycle, the pathway we saw in the previous slide. For alanine, here the alpha keto acid, that is the produced alpha keto acid, is pyruvic acid, and we saw in the previous flow chart that after pyruvic acid, not after pyruvic acid, after one step reaction will be converted to acetyl CoA, and when it converts to acetyl CoA, it can enter into the mitochondria, we saw in the previous slide, and after entering into the mitochondria, it complete the citric acid cycle, and after completing the citric acid cycle, acetyl CoA in several steps, in 8 steps, will release some energy as ATP. So the ultimate fate of this newly formed alpha keto acid is to produce energy. That's why it will convert it to energy. So after transamination, we'll get this new amino acid, and this, why only this amino acid? Because this alpha keto acid already utilized for the production of energy, and this new amino acid will go through another reaction, that is the second step of the common two-step reaction, and that step is oxidative deamination reaction. Now about the second step reaction, that is oxidative deamination. The newly formed amino acid after first step transamination reaction will go through oxidative deamination. During oxidative deamination, a enzyme, dehydrogenase enzyme, plays an important role for this conversion. Actually, dehydrogenase, with the help of NAD plus and water, actually this NAD is a coenzyme, and if we elaborate NAD, that is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, using this coenzyme, dehydrogenase convert this amino acid into a alpha keto acid, and NAD plus helps dehydrogenase enzyme to complete this reaction. So after completing this reaction, NAD will be converted to NADH plus proton after accepting the hydrogen separate from this amino acid and water. So in case of glutamic acid, because we got glutamic acid after transamination of alanine. So in this glutamic acid, in the presence of specific glutamate dehydrogenase and coenzyme NAD and water, it will be converted to a new alpha keto acid, that is alpha keto glutaric acid, or we can say alpha keto glutarate. And as a byproduct or metabolic end product, ammonium ion will also produce. So after completing of this reaction, this alpha keto acid will complete the citric acid cycle in mitochondria, because we already saw that this alpha keto acid is a product in third step of citric acid cycle. So it completes the other step in citric acid cycle, and in every step it will release or produce energy. So the ultimate fate of this alpha keto acid after oxidative deamination is to produce energy. So this portion will go for energy production, and we see in the previous first step, that is in previous slide, after transamination half portion, that is in that case also that alpha keto acid also utilized for energy production. So by this two-step reaction, we'll get energy from amino acid, but the metabolic end product of this amino acid is ammonium ion. So this ammonium ion will remain in our cell. After degradation of amino acid, we already saw that ammonium ion will be produced. The more amino acid will degrade, more ammonium ion will produce, and the concentration of ammonium ion in our blood will increase after degradation of amino acid. But problem is that this metabolic end product, that is the waste product of amino acid, cannot pass through the kidney. That is, the nephron cannot filter this ammonium ion from blood, because it is in ionized form. The glomerulus, that is glomerular filter, cannot filter this ammonium ion. So after that, this ammonium ion combine with the carbon dioxide which is produced after respiration. So it combine with the carbon dioxide in our blood, and after combining with the carbon dioxide, it produce urea. So it produces urea. So urea is a water soluble substance. That's why it dissociate in water, dissolve in water, and after that, after dissolving in water, it pass through the nephron, that is kidney, and excreted from our body through urine. Because if this ammonium ion is not properly excreted, blood urea nitrogen level will become high, and it builds up a toxic level in our system. It can produce many abnormalities in our system, in our body. So naturally, this toxic ammonium ion, after combining with carbon dioxide through urea cycle and through kidney, it is excreted from our body. But in case of renal disease, that means the person who is suffering from kidney diseases, whose kidneys are not functioning properly, in that case their uh, blood urea nitrogen level increase day by day. In that case, uh, as their kidney is affected, they cannot filter the blood. That's why we have to uh, dialyze those patients just to remove the toxic material, not only ammonium ion, blood urea nitrogen, but other toxic materials which are produced from other biochemical reaction. So they are removed from blood by dialysis. But you know, the dialysis is a time consuming, painful and expensive process. That's why the kidney patients, that is who have renal disease, they are advised to intake reduced amount of water and protein diet, because we know that after protein digestion and the metabolism of amino acid, ammonium ion will be produced. That's why they are advised to take less protein, less water in their diet. From the degradation of amino acid, we came to know that after transamination reaction, every amino acid will be converted to a alpha keto acid. And these alpha keto acids were used as intermediate for the citric acid cycle. It was found that amino acid with 3 carbon will convert it to pyruvic acid. Amino acid with 4 carbon will convert it to oxaloacetate, and amino acid with 5 carbon will convert it to alpha ketoglutaric acid after transamination reaction. And these alpha keto acids are used as intermediate for the citric acid cycle, and they complete the citric acid cycle, and they are utilized for the production of energy. Our body needs some energy for our normal biochemical activity, for our metabolic activity. Among the required energy, 10% of our energy comes from amino acid, that is protein. If we compare equal amount of protein, carbohydrate and lipid, in that case maximum amount of energy will be produced by lipid. But we cannot take huge amount of lipid. We have to maintain a balanced diet. For getting maximum of energy, we cannot take huge amount of lipid, because excess lipid will be deposited in our body, and they will produce some disease like blood pressure, heart block and many other diseases related with lipid. That's why we cannot take excess amount of lipid. But if we take carbohydrate and lipid, the excess portion are stored in our body. When a person is unable to take food for any reason like poverty, sickness, uh, starvation, or some natural disaster, for any reason, if he is unable to take food, in that case he can survive, his body can continue its metabolic activity, because in that time uh, that person's body utilize the stored carbohydrate and fat. So using this stored carbohydrate and fat, he managed to get energy to continue his metabolic activity, and he can survive for few hours or few days. Actually it depends on person to person. When the stored carbohydrates and fat are finished, in that case body protein itself starts to break down. So utilizing body protein, that person tries to continue its metabolic activity. Actually also depends on person to person. One can survive for 1 day, one person can survive for 2 days. You cannot assure that how many days a person can survive when he is unable to take food for energy. That's all for today. Actually this is the last lecture video on proteins. If you like my lecture video, then don't forget to click the like button. You can also share this video to your friends and can also put your comments. Lastly, don't forget to subscribe my channel. Your subscription will encourage me to make more lecture videos for you all. Thank you.